Welcome back for Chapter 2, The Longing, from The Invitation by Oriah Mountain Dreamer. My name is Lana Labonte. I am here to support, uplift, inspire, and empower you to be the best version of you. Let's begin. The longing. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for. And if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. I have faith in longing wherever it finds me, and often it finds me at unpredictable and inconvenient moments. It's like a door that suddenly opens. I am never prepared. There is no preparation for the way it takes me and leaves me, for the fierceness of the ache. It is the voice of the parts of myself I have left behind in the deals I have tried to make with life, trying to trade pieces of my dreams for promises of safety. Some mornings I take 2 minutes to sit in my backyard and offer a prayer for the day. Even though part of me is anxious to begin the tasks lined up before me, getting my sons up, cooking breakfast, returning phone calls, throwing a couple loads of laundry into the washer, sending out a mailing. But just for a moment, I sit in the fresh, cool sunlight of the early morning, the breeze moving my hair, my bare feet in the moist grass, and I am surprised by the wave of longing that sweeps over me. It is an unnameable ache. It makes my breath catch, my lips whisper, I want, I want. I can't put a name to it. I have to wait, open and hungry. And it comes and takes me, this longing, and I remember what I thought I could never forget. This longing seduces me with promises embedded in the cells of my body. It whispers to me of the rest, of deep connection with myself, of the ache for another, of living faithful to the sacred. Sitting with Twyla Niche, a Seneca elder, at her kitchen table in the pale morning light, sharing cups of hot tea, I ask her, how long were you married? Twyla pauses and pushes back the wisps of white hair that refuse to be confined by bobby pins. She is a tiny woman, less than 5 feet tall, full of vitality at 80. The fine lines of life cover the skin of her face and hands. I am married, she replies quietly. Though my husband died 12 years ago, he is still, as he was for the 32 years before that, my husband. The way she says it makes my throat ache. I can see it in her eyes and in the way her hand reaches for the carton of cream, that it is true. I know that last night, alone in her bed, as she slipped across the borderland into sleep, she felt him curled around her, the soft hair of his chest against her thin back, his strong thighs along the curve of her aging buttocks, his strong hands gently cupping her softly sagging breasts. It is as it has always been. The separation of years or even worlds cannot dull their ache for each other. Silently, her pale eyes watch my face as my fingers trace the sun's pattern on the plastic tablecloth. I long for this depth of intimacy, this level of commitment to another and to each moment of my life. I want to know how to live this even when our time together is brief. When we meet, I don't want to ask you what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for when that door of longing swings open, and if you have the courage to feel your own desire. Tell me something you have not told yourself for a very long time. Let it come up from your belly so we can be surprised together. We will sit here together for as long as it takes, waiting for it to come. It's hard to wait alone. There have been moments when I was afraid my longing would never find me again. All my journeys have been in search of the desires I have abandoned. More than a decade has passed since I stood in the living room with my suitcase packed, Nathan drooling good-naturedly propped on my hip, Brandon playing with some wooden blocks at my feet. I had no plan beyond gathering the diapers and toys and clothes I had packed. I waited for my husband to come home as the shadows lengthened. I was a woman suspended, unable to move even to switch on a light. I hoped he would arrive before it was dark enough to make standing there in the middle of the room without any lights on seem completely crazy. When he came through the door and glanced at the suitcase, all I could say was, "We're leaving," my voice small and flat. "Really?" he sneered. "And just where were you planning to go?" He was not a cruel man, just a tired one. We were both so tired. "I don't know. I just know I can't stay here." The words could not express the terror I felt, that I was withering inside myself a little more each day. Oh God, Oriah, anything for a little drama. He took the boys into the kitchen and started making dinner. I was alone in the living room, the dying light pulling all the color from the familiar shapes of the furniture. I could not leave my sons, and I had no place to take them. I waited for the familiar numbness to move up my legs and through my body. Eventually, I knew I would be numb enough to move, and then I was. I picked up the suitcase, walked to the bedroom, and unpacked the clothes, placing the suitcase at the back of the closet. My husband and I never spoke of that evening. A year later, when I finally did leave, he was shocked. He gave me a blank stare when I reminded him of that night, of how I had greeted him with the packed suitcase. He looked at me as if I was making it up. And the beginning of the leaving started. In my relationships, I became a woman with one hand always reaching for the doorknob, afraid to leave any door closed too long for fear of getting trapped, of finding myself once again standing in the twilight, unable to leave, with nowhere to go. From the beginning, I told each man what to expect. I could not be found guilty of subterfuge, of misleading anyone. Honesty was my alibi. I knew I could not stay unless I knew I could leave. Knowing I could leave, I ached to know I could stay, to know how to live a commitment to a mate that did not turn my face away from my own life, inner and outer. Tell me what you ache for. I don't want to hear one more dysfunctional family history as an explanation for your current human frailties. Let me taste your stories in the salt of the tears I brush from your eyelashes. I long for a slow motion meander in the getting familiar places. I want to spiral close, almost touching to the place where we can feel the heat in the air between us. An unhurried journey as we sift through new scents of each other, letting them linger in our nostrils, breathing them in deeply, allowing our bodies and hearts to taste the impulse to move toward each other before we move. I want to be courted by the truth. Let the stories that are telling our lives spin out in long, multicolored threads. Don't tell me too much, too soon. Don't hide anything. Tell the tales of your heart. Offer them like perfect pearls coming up from the depths of the sea, to be strung together, each gently clicking against the other, luminous and iridescent as they roll out of the moistness. 10 years from now, I want to hear a story from your childhood I have never heard before, and know the delight and ongoing awe of seeing each other for the first time again and again. Give me each picture slowly, so I can sit with it and find you and the glimpses of me and the foreshadows of us there in the details. I want to talk in seamless conversation all night long and find ourselves able to hold the silence together for days, our intimacy sharpened by shared solitude. And if we are to be lovers for the first time or again after many times, let the lovemaking be filled with shyness and discovery, the way it was, or could have been, when we were 16. Today, a kiss that lingers, a touch on the back of my neck I can feel for hours. Tomorrow, a light caress across my breasts that makes my breath catch. I want to savor each discovery of touch as the infinite unfolding of the other. I want to slow it all down, to wander around, wet, aching for what is to come next, so I will know when I have been fully entered, whether by your body, your story, or just simply the moment that passes between us. This is the desire of the human soul for the other, heard through the body and heart. It is hard for me to acknowledge this ache. I worry that it might only be marginally worthy as a means to an end, as a support for my connection to spirit, my work in the world. But we love spirit and honor the sacred by the way we touch each other. Even when I am fully present with myself, I still hold deeply within the longing for another and for the world. The universe is not twice given. The split between spirit and matter is in our thinking, our way of speaking of it. I touch God when I caress the face of a lover, hold the beloved when my son's hand is in mine, breathe in spirit when I catch the scent of the sun on the breeze. The world offers itself to me in 1,000 ways, and I ache with an awareness of how infrequently I am able to receive more than a small fraction of what is offered, of how often I reject what is because I feel it is not good enough. Some mornings sitting for a moment in the backyard, I don't even notice how I have tensed my muscles against the sound of the city's traffic, resisting what I have decided is a marring of the morning quiet. I pull away from it, unable or unwilling to welcome the sound as part of what is alive, as simply the sounds of men and women beginning their day, going into the world to do the work they do to provide for themselves and their children. Can you see and touch the divine that is in everything? We live in a secular society with few ceremonies in our daily lives to help us remember and acknowledge the sacred. Robbed of small formalities, we become deeply familiar with one another's humanness. I want a little distance once in a while to remind me of what a mystery others are to me, and I to them, to anticipate touching with awe the divine in another. My grandfather, Baba, stood when a woman came into the room, quietly, confidently, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. The woman could be young or old, pretty or plain, the next-door neighbor or his soft-spoken sister-in-law, it didn't matter. My father, a man caught between two ears, stood some of the time. My brother, as he grew to manhood, never stood. Our generation shunned the social graces as empty gestures devoid of any real meaning, separated from honorable intent, empty movements designed to placate those denied real power in their lives. What honoring of the feminine could there be in rising from a chair, if at the same time the community condoned a man beating his wife or forbidding her work of her own? Did Baba feel the old stirrings of the male warrior in his blood, the one who recognized, honored, and cherished the women of his tribe as life-givers, beings who in the very shape of belly and breast held the image of life? Did he mean to salute life and place himself at her service, or was he merely being polite, following rules long since meaningless? I don't know. Still, when I enter a room and a man stands until I am seated, I feel a part of myself respond, sensing what it might be like to live where what we offer, the place we hold that is larger than ourselves, is seen and valued. I feel how this calls me, not to deny my humanness, but to remember my place in things, to rise and meet the best in myself and offer it to my people, to be worthy of being woman, life-giver, warrior, mother, sister, grandmother, dreamer, priestess. It's easy to lose sight of the divine in the partner who takes out the garbage, and easier still if he or she doesn't. It's hard to remember to look for and see the beloved in the parking attendant or checkout clerk we encounter. We need shared gestures, small ceremonies that help us pay attention, that let us see and honor the mystery of the other every day. This is the commitment my soul longs to make to the world. And I want to stop trying to do this. It is not the being, Not even the doing that exhausts. It is the trying. Trying to be present, to be awake, to hold the whole world, to be better, more self-aware, more conscious. My hopes for us are real. I want to help create a world where the very idea of toxic waste would raise such a cry of anguish from the people as to make it unthinkable, where we would move, pulled by the heart, to care for the poor, the ill, the dying, and despairing without debating whether they are deserving, without fear of contamination, seeing ourselves in each person. But as honorable as these desires to make a difference may be, I know my motives are mixed. I am afraid that if I am not accomplishing something, I will disappear. I will have nothing to offer you when we meet. I want to be able to live for a day, a month, a year, even a life. That would make a good story. If I have nothing to tell you when we meet and you ask me what has been happening, I want to be fully content with this. I want to be able to occupy my life right to the corners and for this to be enough. There are places inside me where the soothing balm of rest has never penetrated. I long for small respite from the reaching, a moment of sweet stillness, quiet darkness, the great silence that can penetrate and loosen the small, hard knots of endless trying. I want to quit running from my own tiredness. I want to be willing and able to move only as fast as I am capable of moving while still remaining connected to the impulse to move from deep within. Stopping when I have lost the slender thread of desire and having the courage and faith to wait in stillness until I find it again. This is what I ache for: intimacy with myself, others, and the world. Intimacy that touches the sacred in all that is life. This ache, this longing is the thread that guides me back through the labyrinth of compromises I have made, back to my soul's desires. And sometimes I am afraid of my desires, afraid of what they will ask of me, what vision of myself or the world they will offer that may demand a sacrifice of my carefully cultivated way of seeing. If we are never consumed by the transforming fire of our desires, we risk falling in love with the sweet ache of longing, the daydream of what if or someday. The willingness to live our desires takes courage. So many times our desires have been used against us, used to sell us what someone else wanted us to buy. Moving toward our desire for deep commitment to spirit, we have been sold blind obedience. Opening to our desire to love, we have been sold an abandonment of self. Seeking to embrace our desire for beauty, we have been sold everything from cars to clothes, exotic vacations to plastic surgery. We have been sold a lifestyle, when what our soul desired was life. To taste our longing, to feel the ache, we risk finding our soul's desires. We risk falling short of fulfilling those desires. We risk living our desires fully. The longing. Meditation for desire. Sit in a comfortable position with pen and paper nearby. Take 3 deep breaths in through your nose and exhale out your mouth. Letting your weight drop to the bottom half of your body as you exhale. Inhale. Let your shoulders drop and bring your attention to your breath, following the inhalation and the exhalation for several moments. If your mind wanders, Gently bring it back to the breath, following the rising and falling of your belly with each breath. Now, pick up your pen and paper and begin to write, completing the statements. I want. I need. I desire. Do this for a full 5 minutes. Do not judge what you are writing. Allow it. Let it come freely. This list of what you need, want, and desire. The things on this list may be very concrete or abstract. Try to be specific. Pausing and coming back to your breath again, taking 3 breaths and letting your body relax. Then, looking at what you have written, you may have paused the video if you like. Read the items out loud, one at a time, saying, "It doesn't interest me if I ever have," for each of the items you've written. "What I really want is." Complete the second statement without censorship from deep within. Speak the unspeakable. Hear what your heart and soul most long for without judgment. Surprise yourself. Tell yourself something you do not already know. See you in the next chapter.